Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kiki, real name is Mark. And in today's video, we're going to be continuing our series ranking every single gun in every single Call of Duty game in order of the release. We did it obviously first with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, but we did the remastered one because it's pretty much the same game, just with different guns. And now today we're going to do it on the second game in the main series, not the first three, obviously. World at War. There are 30 World at War guns, and we're ranking them, by the way, just based on personal preference. I'm not a pro or anything like that, so please do not be like, oh, this guy's gonna go off of statistics. No, I'm gonna go off of which ones I enjoyed using the most when I played this game. However, I do want to make it very clear, this is actually, and I'm gonna get some freaking backlash for saying that people are gonna come to my house with whips, start whipping me to get to work. But this is one of my least played CODs ever, because I got into the series too late. I started Call of Duty and Black Ops 1, that was the first COD I played, and I went back and played Modern Warfare 2, pretty much in its prime. I mean, it was 1 year old, so it was pretty much in its prime, but I never really went back and played World at War multiplayer until a little bit late into its prime. So I have used all these guns at least once, but I'm definitely not like the most definitive, answer on which ones are the best. Okay, so just please keep that in mind. Also, we're obviously not going to be ranking any of the grenades or melee weapons because those are not guns, and I have a whole other video planned out for those anyways. There aren't any melee weapons really in this game anyways, except for like, I think they might have a bayonet in this game, but besides that, there's no real melee weapons anyways, but I'll be doing a video about that anyways. I just said anyways 1,700 times. Either way, splitting these up into 6 tiers as well. The awful tier, bad tier, average tier, good tier, amazing tier, and the best tier. And song of the day is called No Cure by Zach Bryan. It is a country song, but I know some people don't like country music, but I like country music, man, and this is a good song. So go give it a listen. Without further ado, let's get right into it with number 30, the worst gun in Call of Duty World at War. And that's the bazooka. Yeah, the bazooka sucks. Spoiler alert for every single one of these ranking guns in every Call of Duty game videos. The grenade launchers are probably going to be dead last. There are not very many grenade launchers in Call of Duty history that were worth a damn. And the main problem why isn't because they don't kill or anything like that. It's just there's just no ammo. You have most of the time you have 2 shots in these things, and so yeah, obviously they're not that great of weapons to just actually like primarily use. And the bazooka on top of all of that was very weak. It didn't hit that hard, and that's even worse. So yeah, the bazooka just was not an option. And coming in at the number 29 spot is obviously the other launcher in this game, the Panzerschreck. I believe the background footage for this clip, by the way, because I'm pretty sure I already got it, is actually zombie footage, because there is no background footage on YouTube of anybody using the Panzerschreck in multiplayer, because obviously who would do that? And I know you guys think, well, why don't you just record it yourself? If I recorded my own gameplay, I have an Xbox Series X and a MacBook Air and an Elgato. If I tried recording my own gameplay, I would actually have better luck like writing down what happened on Post-it notes and flipping through it like one of those really quick books. And that would be better gameplay to watch than my recordings. It's so bad. But yeah, the Panzerschreck is yet again another launcher. It hits harder than the bazooka, in my opinion at least. But the big problem with these launchers too, in World at War especially, is they took up a perk slot. They weren't just a secondary weapon, so it was even worse to run these. Okay, now we're getting into the part where these are real guns, they're bullet shooting guns, not launchers of any kind. But they're the sidearms in the game, because 28th place is a Tokarev TT-33. Spoiler alert. The next 3 are also sidearm pistols, and the reason why is because actually in World at War, I didn't know this before making this video actually, so this is a fun little fact, but in World at War, 4 of the pistols are exactly the same weapons. The only difference in them is A, obviously their looks, and B, their reload times, and the Tokarev TT-33 has the slowest reload time of the bunch, so it's the worst. And coming in at 27th place has the second slowest reload time of the bunch, the Walther P3, or P38. I saw some other people saying it was a P38. I remember it being the P3 though, so I'm gonna go with P3. Pretty sure that's what it's called in game. Either way, yeah, this gun has the second slowest reload time, but what I meant earlier, by the way, is they literally have exactly the same stats across the board with these 4 weapons. They all shoot exactly the same fire rate, they all do exactly the same amount of damage, they all have the exact same amount of recoil patterns, they all have the exact same amount of ammunition in the clip. They're all literally the exact same pistol. The only difference between these 4 guns is obviously, again, the looks and the reload time. And this one has the second worst reload time. And coming in at 26, it's unfortunate. If it was up to me and I was just like ranking them based off my personal preference, I would have put it obviously a little bit higher, but it's the M1911. The M1911 has the 3rd worst reload time, or the 2nd best reload time of the 4 normal pistols. But obviously the M1911 is a super iconic gun, and so I'm probably still going to use the M1911 over the following pistol, which has the fastest reload time, just because A, it's the M1911, man, you gotta use it. And the reload times aren't a significant change anyways that makes it so like you can't use the M1911. Like it's still fine, it's just a little bit slower, I think by like 0.2 seconds. But yeah, 25th place, the fastest reload time pistol, and so therefore the best of the original 4. There is one other pistol, by the way, in this game. That's why I keep saying of the original 4. But of the original 4 is the Nambu. It has the fastest reload time. It also looks pretty cool, so I'm honestly not even that, upset with the Nambu being the best one because I don't mind using it. It's a pretty cool looking weapon. But it's the exact same thing that we mentioned earlier with all the other pistols. From here on out, we're getting into the bad tier after this, and from here on out, weapons will actually be different and be, fun to use and stuff like that. Alrighty, but yeah, now we're into the bad tier, and I just realized I said fun to use. That is a lie, because 24th place is going to the M1897 trench gun. Holy crap, I remember the trench gun being bad, but I recently went back and played World at War like 2 months ago or something, and I remember using the trench gun when I played it again like 2 months ago for maybe 2 lives, because it is the worst shotgun in Call of Duty history. There's a 0% chance I'm wrong about that. You could be literally point blank range at them, shoot them directly in their noggin with this thing, and still get a hit marker. I don't understand if it's because the shotgun is so bad or if it's because the hit registration in World at War is so bad, but whatever it is, makes this gun bad. The trench gun, it's iconic and it's super cool, especially in zombies. I remember it being really fun to use in zombies, but in multiplayer, it is horrible. And coming in at 23rd place, it's just not worth it in my opinion. It's the M1A1 carbine. If I remember correctly, of the rifles, the M1A1 carbine was the last weapon you unlocked, period. It was, how like every COD in multiplayer, when you reach the max level before prestiging, you unlock a gun. Usually that gun is worth the grind, like the AN-94 in Black Ops 2, the the Commando in Black Ops 1. Like usually it's worth it. In World at War, it's the M1A1 carbine, and it is not worth it. This is the last weapon you unlock. It's bad. It's a semi-auto rifle. A lot of the semi-auto rifles in this game are not my personal style anyways, but this one does not seem like it's a heavy hitter at all. Like I don't like semi-auto weapons already. They better be good, like the FAL OSW or something from Black Ops 2. Like that's one of the only semi-auto guns I like in COD history. This is just not it. 22nd place, this is the one good thing I will say I love about World at War, is that they had like 5 bolt action sniper rifles in this game, which is so cool. Bolt action sniper rifles are like my favorite weapons to use in COD games. I'm a big old fan of sniping, even though I suck at it. It looks like a kid with freaking autism trying to hit these shots when autism isn't even that bad. I think I have autism actually, but you know what I mean. As someone that's not the best at controlling a controller, trying to hit these shots. 22nd place is the Arisaka. It's the worst of the bunch. It's still fun to use because it's a bolt action sniper, like I said, but it is a hit marking machine. 21st place, barely missing out on the top 20. It's not much better. It's a Springfield. Yeah, it's technically slightly better, I believe, stats wise than the Arisaka is, but it's not enough to be like, yeah, this is a clear difference. Like there's no real point in using the Springfield or Arisaka over some of the other sniper rifles in this game, besides the fact that the Arisaka is the first sniper rifle you have unlocked, so I guess you could use it then. But besides that, there's just no reason. It's still fun to use because it's a bolt action sniper rifle, but it's just not that good. And it's, again, there's just so many better bolt action snipers. It is, again, still cool though that they have so many options, because like I said, even in prime games like Black Ops 2 or something, there's only really 2 snipers you could use and have fun with, the ballista and the DSR, and that was like prime sniping time. The XPR and the SVU AS or whatever it was called were both semi-auto, and that's just not fun to snipe with. So breaking its way into the top 20, on the other hand, is going to the SVT-40. It's another semi-auto weapon that just doesn't feel fun to use. My thing is, even if the SVT-40 was, let's say, overpowered, I probably still wouldn't have really used it, because again, I'm just not a fan of semi-auto rifles. Like if I'm going to use a rifle, I want it to be full auto. The bolt action stuff, that's different, because obviously quick scoping, and it feels satisfying to cock that back and hear the chamber reload and stuff like that. But with semi-auto weapons, it's not the same. In the SVT-40, it was weak, and it's semi-auto. It's boring. Coming in at 19th place, however, in the final one for the bad tier before we go into the average tier, is the double barrel shotgun. Yeah, a lot of people nowadays don't understand, but back in original Call of Duties, shotguns were almost never really a good option. The original COD 4 Modern Warfare, the W1200 and M1014 were not good weapons on any map pretty much besides like Shipment. Same with World at War, obviously, as we can see here, because this is a second shotgun and it's still in the bad tier. Modern Warfare 2 did have a couple with the Rangers and stuff like that. Obviously, were overpowered. The Model 1887s were overpowered too. But then Black Ops 1 came out, those weren't very good. Modern Warfare 3 came out, those weren't very good. It just kind of ended up, it wasn't the best at first, is what I'm trying to say. And double barrel shotgun was just too bad. Alrighty, but now we are into the average tier. So guns in this tier, average. I'm not mad about them or anything. I'm not gonna go out of my way to use them, but if I pick one up off the ground or something, I'm not gonna like immediately start throwing up all over my lap and go into cardiac arrest, because 18th place is the M2 flamethrower. The M2 flamethrower was actually a weapon that was, I believe, like a hidden weapon that you unlocked when you reached max level, which I guess is kind of cool. But if they ever did anything like that today in COD things, I'm sure people would somehow manage to complain about it, even though it's a earnable weapon. They probably still would have complained about it though. The flamethrower wasn't broken or anything. It was just a fun weapon to use. I just don't really understand like why they haven't ever brought an idea like this back. Coming in at the number 17 spot, however, is going to be going to the 357 Magnum. It is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the best sidearm in the game. It just is, like, I really don't think many people are going to disagree with me on that. The original 4 pistols, while they are cool, and they obviously shoot faster with less recoil and stuff like that, the 357 Magnums, just the one-shot potential is enough to bring it above the other 4, without a doubt in my mind. It's also just freaking cool, man. To run around a battlefield with a 357 Magnum in your hand. Like, how do you not feel like you're in the movie 1917? Like, that's just cool. Also, I realized I forgot to mention earlier with the M2 flamethrower, the obvious elephant in the room. Yes, the flamethrower, being able to run around with a flamethrower as your primary weapon in a Call of Duty game is cool. I'll give that where credit is due. That's really cool. But we've seen flamethrowers as underbarrel attachments in Black Ops 1, and so it's not that cool anymore in my opinion. Either way, 16th place is the DP28, the pizza gun. It wasn't great, honestly. It was cool because it had the pizza, you know, on the top of it as a magazine. People liked that, and people were like, that's, you know, baller. But using the DP28 was never that fun, especially since the pizza thing just obstructed your screen the entire time. Coming in at number 15 spot, and it's, again, let me just put it out there, very, very obvious. I like full auto weapons in these games. I just enjoy using them more than I like using the semi-auto weapons, besides bolt action rifles, obviously. And so it's the Browning M1919. It's an LMG, and it really isn't actually that great of a weapon, because LMGs back in, like, if you're a modern day Call of Duty player and you didn't play these old CODs, LMGs back then were very heavy. It took forever to aim down sights with a Browning M1919, and that was the real big downside to these weapons in these games. They hit like a truck, sure, and they were fun to use when you were aiming down sights, but you had to constantly be aiming down sights, because if you got caught off guard with a Browning in your hand, dude, the other player could have played a round of bingo with his grandmother before he had to aim down sights and kill you, because of how long it took you to aim down sights with this thing. Alrighty, coming in at 14th place is yet again another semi-auto weapon, the Gewehr 43. It was a good semi-auto weapon, so that's why it's going above like the Browning and the DP28, even though those are full auto weapons. But also, another thing with the Browning too, I forgot to mention, is it was just ugly. It was just a big old like rectangular box. I always hated how that thing looked. Either way, the Gewehr 43, like I said, it's a semi-auto weapon, so I wasn't a big fan of using it personally, but it was an okay weapon in terms of its actual like damage potential and, you know, killing potential. But again, I'm just not a fan of semi-auto stuff. And coming in at 13th place is, I believe, the last of all the semi-auto weapons, in my opinion, the best of it, the M1 Garand. The M1 Garand not only was a pretty strong semi-auto weapon, but it also had, first of all, Garand Thumb. Like, that's just so iconic. The M1 Garand is an iconic weapon, and so it's my favorite of the bunch, just because it's the M1 Garand. How could you not? It's been remastered multiple times as well in other Call of Duties. It has never been good in any of them. Black Ops 3's MX or Garand or whatever they called it, that thing sucked. And then I think Advanced Warfare had an M1 Garand remaster as well. I think even Infinite Warfare did as well, and they were all just pretty horrible, to be honest, but it's an iconic weapon, so I give it credit where credit is due. Okie dokie, ladies and gentlemen, now we are into the good tier. So guns in this tier are pretty good. You could get away with using them. Not going to be the best in the game, but you can get away with it. 12th place is the MG42. The other LMG, yeah, there's not many LMGs in this game, and the ones that are in the game are not very strong. The MG42 is one of those. It's, again, just too heavy. It looks cooler than the Browning, which is pretty much the reason why I'm putting it higher than the Browning, because realistically speaking, the unfortunate truth that we all don't, the hard pill to swallow when it comes to these classic CODs, is overpowered weapons in these games never really got patched, and so there was almost no reason to run any weapon in World at War unless it was the best weapon in the game, which we all know anyways, but I'm not going to spoil it for anybody that doesn't know. And so unfortunately, guns like this, it was a very rare instance where you would win a gunfight with the MG42 over the best weapon in this game. And coming in at the number 11 spot, barely missing out on the top 10, is going to the Mosin Nagant. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, by the way, but I believe that's correct. It's another bolt action sniper though. There we go. Both action snipers are fun, and the Mosin Nagant is fun. It's not as great as the other two sniper rifles in this game, but it's a fun weapon to use. It's a good middle ground. It's a good midpoint, I guess you could say. It's one of the underrated ones because, again, nobody really uses this over the other two. breaking its way into the top 10 is going to the Type 99. The Type 99 was a very, decent weapon with one absolute major downside. The fact that the magazine was sticking straight up into the air. So when you aim down sights, it was completely on your left side of your vision and cut off every left side of your vision. There could have been a unicorn hitting the gritty with a Bigfoot playing Fortnite and looking at edging the pictures of Sydney Sweeney on the left side of your screen, and you would have had no clue because the entire magazine was covering it up. If it hadn't had the magazine like that, obviously this gun would have been probably not that much higher, if I'm being honest, but maybe a little bit higher. But because of the magazine placement making the gun very, very hard to use when aiming down sights, and pretty much having to be aiming down sights at all times because it was a very slow weapon, it made the gun pretty hard to use. Alrighty, coming in at 9th place, however, and the final one for the good tier, and it's going to the Thompson. It's unfortunate because we all remember the Thompson with rose-tinted glasses, and it's an iconic freaking World War II weapon. Everybody loves the Thompson or the Tommy gun. Like, it's just such a cool weapon, dude. And it's just in every COD that it gets remastered in, everybody's like, yes, the Thompson, and then it never really ends up being that great. And it's unfortunate because the Thompson was a very, very weak SMG in this game, especially compared to the other SMGs that the game offered. It was just not really worth using compared to those weapons. And so it is going to be in the good tier, but it's iconic, and it hurts me to only put it in the good tier is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't deserve to be higher, but I want it to be higher. Now we are into the amazing tier, however, and the solo weapons in this tier are just straight up great. They're really good to use. If it wasn't for the ones in the best tier, these guns probably would have ran the game. In 8th place is the Kar 98K. The Kar 98K is a very, very fast, very, very reliable, that's the word I'm looking for, very reliable, very consistent sniper rifle, and it's been remastered again in multiple CODs, and in almost every COD it gets remastered in, it's a pretty good option, which is usually a telltale sign that they want the gun to be remembered as a good gun, and so they always make it pretty strong, and the Kar 98K was good. It was one of the best of the bolt action, straight up, lightweight sniper rifles. There was one, though, that was just so much better. Not so much better, but a little bit better. Coming in at the number 7 spot, however, is going to the BAR, the Browning automatic rifle. Slow fire. This was the very first instance of the Man-O-War, for those who don't know. From Black Ops 3, maybe you guys don't know Black Ops 3 either. Actually, no, that might sound stupid. Okay, the Odin from Modern Warfare 2019. You know how pretty much every COD has that one AR where it shoots very, very slow, but it hits like a truck? This is the very, very first instance of that, pretty much, the BAR. The thing shot very slow, but it hit like a freaking truck. If you could hit your shots with this thing, you could do some damage. The only problem with that is you probably want a gun that fires a little bit faster in World at War, because even if you do hit your shots, there's a good chance hit registration will say you didn't hit your shots, and so you kind of want a faster firing weapon, which is the downside to the BAR. It would have been a very, very big powerhouse, I think, though, with consistent hit registration. Coming in at 6th place, on the other hand, is going to the FG42. It's just a basic assault rifle, but a basic assault rifle that worked. It's one of the most forgotten about assault rifles from this game too. I feel like no one ever talks about the FG42, and that's a crime. It's pretty freaking good, and because nobody talks about it, it's never gotten a remaster, and that hurts. I don't think I've ever once seen an FG42 in any COD game except for obviously like World War II and maybe Vanguard. It might be in Vanguard. I don't know. I played Vanguard for 1 freaking minute and then quit. But it might be in those games, but it needs to be like remastered in the sense of like, hey, let's bring back some classic guns in modern CODs like they do sometimes, because the FG42 was such a reliable, unique, fun weapon to use, and there was no downside to it at all. But coming in at 5th place, this is a sniper and me talking because it probably doesn't deserve to be all the way as high. Realistically, no sniper deserves to be in the amazing tier just because they're so hard to use that like the skill gap there pretty much automatically puts them in a worst tier because not a lot of people can use them effectively. It's the PTRS-41 though. The PTRS-41, while it was slower than the Kar 98K, it almost always was a one-shot because it was a anti-tank round sniper. Like, obviously shooting somebody with an anti-tank round will probably kill them no matter where you shoot them with, and so Call of Duty understood that and made the gun stupidly overpowered when it hit an enemy. Now, again, the only problem being the fact that you actually have to hit the enemy and you have a sniper rifle. People aren't the best at doing that, and that's the reason why it's like kind of hard to rank weapons in lists like this, and I feel like nobody ever understands that really. Whenever I see comments, people are like hating on people for trying to rank weapons, and they don't understand the fact that everybody plays differently. So if you're a good enough player with good aim, yes, sniper rifles can be unbelievably overpowered, like we saw in Black Ops 2 with the ballista. If you were a good enough player with the ballista, you can get nukes with that thing because you're just hitting one-shot kills all the time. They have no chance to kill you. But the average player would probably struggle with it. Like me, I struggle a lot with snipers, even though I love using them. Coming in at 4th place, however, and the final one for the amazing tier before we get into the best tier is the Type 100, another SMG. I'm going to spoil something for you. SMGs in this game were pretty freaking broken because, first of all, a lot of the maps actually weren't as big as you remember them being. Like, even though you think that these maps were huge, don't get me wrong, there were some in this freaking game that were unbelievably massive. It was like fighting in the entire country of Italy. I don't understand why they did that, but some of them, yes, were absolutely huge. However, the vast majority, I would say, were just average, normal sized maps with a lot of close range engagements. And again, like I've said multiple times in this video already, the big problem with these classic CODs was their hit registration. So if all you really needed was a gun that shot fast, because you were going to miss some shots here and there just because of hit registration, even if you were hitting your shots. And so as long as you had a weapon that was shooting very quickly, it could make up for that. And that's why the SMGs just did so strong. And the Type 100 is, of course, one of those. It was forgotten, though, because of the other two heavy hitters, obviously. But now we are into the best tier. So even though there's 3 weapons in the best tier, again, realistically speaking, 1st place is the only weapon that was like a genuine viable option, which is crazy to say, man. Like, we love these classic guys, and I do too, don't get me wrong, I love World at War. But dude, if like the meta in a modern Call of Duty was anything like it was back then, there would be so much outrage, because there's literally like no real reason even to use 3rd or 2nd place, even though they're very good weapons. 3rd place is the STG-44. It's mainly up here for its iconicness, obviously, but it was a very strong weapon in World at War. It was a very, very good weapon, don't get me wrong, but it's just the STG-44, and that's pretty much the reason why I'm putting it here. And 2nd place is going to the PPSH-41. Very iconic, one of my personal favorite guns ever made in real life. Like, I'm not a big gun nerd, don't get me wrong, like I do like them, I'm a big fan of them for sure, but I mainly get all my gun information off of video games and maybe like YouTube videos here and there, or movies or stuff like that. Like, I'm not like reading about guns is what I'm trying to say. I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to them, but the PPSH-41 is probably my favorite weapon ever created. It is just so cool. I love everything about it. And in this game, it's a freaking powerhouse. And the main reason why is its absolutely insane fire rate with its absolutely insane magazine size. Sure, it has a lot of recoil. Who cares? You don't even have to aim down sights with this thing. You could just melt people from across the map with it. It's just such a freaking heavy hitter. Unfortunately, though, there's still one weapon that just outguns it. And that, as we all know, is the MP40. Yeah, it was an absolute powerhouse back in the day. And if you go back and play World at War nowadays, like I said, like I did 2 months ago or so, it's pretty much running the game. Like, there's not a lot of variety in World at War games. You pretty much, if you load into a World at War match in 2025, it's either sweats that are like Master Prestige using the MP40 going like 20-5, or you might get lucky and get into a lobby of snipers, and that's pretty much the only 2 versions of players in this game at this point. There is not really any difference between them. The MP40 is unbelievably strong. It is, like, for people that don't understand, this thing would 2-shot people with a pretty freaking fast fire rate and handling of an SMG. That is unbelievable, okay? Like, imagine if in 2026, the Jackal or 2025, I don't know why I said 2026, but the Jackal PDW in Black Ops 6 was 2-shotting players with the speed that it has from pretty much any range. And most of the time, it was hip fire kills too. You didn't even have to aim down the sights half the time with the MP40. It was truly, and still is, I don't know why I'm saying was, it still is to this day, probably the most, no, I almost said probably the most overpowered gun, but I still think the M16 from Modern Warfare was probably more overpowered than this, but it was a close second. Like, this thing was stupid. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video ranking all Call of Duty World at War guns from worst to best. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Let me know what other videos I've seen in the comment section down below. And obviously, we are going to be continuing this series, so next will be Modern Warfare 2. Don't get me wrong. So obviously, if you do leave a comment below, I'll probably have to do it after the series is done. We have 18 games to go. Well, not really. I think 17 total, because we're throwing Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered into the same game, and they technically count as separate games. You know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so we're obviously going to be doing this series more, for the next weeks or whatever. But after that, I will think about doing some other series. Also, really quickly, again, I've said it in almost every video I've made on this channel at this point. You guys are probably getting sick and tired of hearing it, but thank you. 255 subscribers in 2 months, pretty much, is insane. And you guys are really seeming to enjoy this channel, which makes me super happy to see. Also, another thing I wanted to say, if at any point during this video you saw something that was like, you're a World at War veteran or something, and you see me say something that is untrue, don't be shy to leave a comment and let me know. I mean, I would appreciate it if you're nice about it, you know, don't be a jerk, but let me know, because like I said, this was one of my least played CODs, so I could be very, very wrong with a couple of my rankings here, and I'm very open to criticism, very open to learning more about this game, because again, if I go back and play it now, it's pretty much unplayable unless you use the MP40, so it's kind of hard to see like the skill level of these other weapons. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.